All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 2 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And, of course, the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight here on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and through the beautiful province of Ontario and the 5 northern tier states that border Ontario, on the other side of the border that is, we're on your favorite radio station, Classic 1220 AM CFAJ, here in St. Catharines, Ontario. Ironically, they're just down the street from our studios, and they stream us live at classic1220.ca. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone at Xzone Radio TV, and of course on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. Now, before I get to my first guest tonight, Karin Wilkinson, I have to tell you about something I'm going to share with each and every one of you right now. As you know, the X Chronicles newspaper has been published for the last 34 years, every month. What we decided to do, because I've been on radio for 36 years, is have what we call a 36-year anniversary special for advertising in the X Chronicles. So we scratched our heads and we said, how can we best help our listeners? How can we best help our readers? And how can we best help our viewers? And we came up with this idea that you can get 2 half-page ads in the X Chronicles newspaper, and that is 11 by 17. It's a full-size newspaper for $36 for 2 half-page ads, because I've been on air for 36 years, $1 for every year, and this is for 2 ads. So basically, you're getting 2 for 1. That's 36 for, it's 36 for the month of October, and you also get the month of November in there. Plus, there's a Christmas bonus in there that we're throwing in, just to say super thank you for being part of the X Zone Nation after all these years, and we're still growing stronger. Now, some of the people that we already have who have ads in the X Chronicles are Raven Digitalis, David Campione, Rick Hayes, Cooch Daniels, Wilda Wieka, Catherine Lanigan, the psychic firefighter himself, Dr. Georgina Cannon, and evangelist Patrick Sims. So listen, if you'd like to take part in this, and if you'd like to get your ad into the October-November edition of the X Chronicles, I know it's October the, 14th? That's because we don't publish it and it isn't distributed around the world until the 17th. All you need to do is send an email to publisher at xchronicles, that's xchronicles.com. Publisher at xchronicles.net. I'm sorry, it's .net. And what we will do is we'll send you all the information you need. We'll reserve your spot. When the ad is done, you can either do the ad or we'll do it for you. No extra charge whatsoever. We send it to you. You take a look at it and say, yeah, I want this. Or Rob, can you guys fix this or change that or put a different photo in? We'll do that. No problem. We don't publish it until it is approved by you. Now, here's the better part. Once you say, yes, we've got your ad, we put it through all our social media sites. We advertise it on all our TV channels because we have a real neat video up there now. We want you to get the best you can, because this is my way of saying thank you so much for each and every one of you who listen, who are guests, who have who've been advertisers over the years. I want to say thank you, and this is the best way I could think of. So once again, if you'd like to be part of our, we call it a half-page ad in two editions of the X Chronicles newspaper, $36. That's $36 US. Just send an email to publisher at xchronicles.net, and they'll take it from there. It's that plain, it's that simple. So I hope that each and every one of you have the opportunity to think about it and take part in it, because I think it's a great deal. I really do. My guest this hour, Exonation, is Karin Wilkinson. We're going to be talking to Karin about UFOs. She is a UFO author, and she is the author of Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. She is a speaker, researcher, ufologist, and a regular writer-contributor to L.A. Marzulli's monthly newsletter, Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural. We've had the opportunity of having Karin on before, and of course, anyone who's listened to the X Zone over the years knows that L.A. Marzulli is a most welcome guest here. It's been a long time, Karin. Welcome back to the show. I enjoy talking to you, and of course, I have nothing but the highest respects for L.A.
Well, Rob, I'm just so honored to be back here with you today. Thank you so much for having me back. It has been a while, and I'm happy to talk with you again.
Super, Karin. Since you and I last talked, has there been any major developments in the world of ufology?
Well, since we last talked, they did have the historic U.S. House hearings, the UAP hearings, and they now have another one scheduled for this November 13th, which will be chaired by Nancy Mace. Now, we hope that will happen. We never know with the elections coming up what's going to happen around here. But hopefully that will happen, and they're telling us they're going to have some pretty interesting whistleblower testimony this time. So while they haven't released any names yet, we are looking forward to that. Hopefully we'll get some more confirmation this time.
The last hearing, did David Rush meet with the expectations that his testimony was supposed to give?
I think that he did to the best of his ability. I know that his ability to share was incredibly limited, and that many of his conversations were had in what they call a skiff, which is a security level conversation that we didn't get to hear.
Right.
But he did confirm that they had crashed craft and that they had recovered non-human biologics. So that was a good confirmation for everyone in the UFO, everyone interested in UFO and UAPs.
But as far as I understand, Grush had never seen any of this evidence himself. It was all secondhand information.
A great deal of it was. He had seen the documentation and a lot of the photographic evidence and things of that nature, and spoken with those on those committees and been involved in those committees. So while I think there are a lot of people in these different groups within the powers that be, the governments that are involved, not everyone gets to see these things firsthand. So at least we have some confirmation that these things exist, which was more than we've had before.
Why do you think, Karin, that disclosure just hasn't happened? Here we are since 1947. We're now 2024, and still no disclosure. What's the holdup?
I think there are a couple of reasons for that. I think one is there are so many people involved, so many different groups involved, and it's really parsed out to so many different specialized groups and specific groups, whether they be government groups or privately held corporations, that everyone holds different pieces of the puzzle. And for full confirmation, full disclosure to come out, all of those groups would have to get together and offer the pieces of the puzzle they have. And that would be incredibly difficult, if not impossible. And another point on that is that so much of it, I think, holds security risks for the different countries involved, because they would have to offer up information about their own, defense systems and things like that. And for the most telling one for me, having been taken for so much of my life and seen what appear to be humans working alongside these non-human entities, is they would have to admit to their involvement in it, which is something that I think would cause quite the public outcry if they were to admit their knowledge and involvement in these programs that are going on.
But Karen, couldn't the extraterrestrial visitors just land and force the hand of all governments?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, they could. And I think that's why we're getting at least the level of information that we've gotten to this point.
Right.
Because if something like that happens, there would be sort of a covering their backside going on here where they can say, well, we've offered you what we could
Mm-hmm.
without offering something that would jeopardize our countries or our security and the people involved. So I think they're being forced at this point to offer more and more disclosure because of that, and because everyone out there, most people hold in their hands a powerful device that can offer photographic
Yes.
and
Well,
video evidence and share that information.
we talked briefly about the election that is coming up. I believe it's November the 4th.
Yes, it's November 5th is actually
November
election day
5th.
this year. Yes.
Okay. What are the chances if one of the candidates, whether it is, Vice President Harris or former President Trump, get in? Well, one of them will get in.
Yes.
And they say, no, we're not going to touch the UFO platform. No, Congress, forget it.
I don't think that because this legislation, we have the UAPDA, which is the UAP Disclosure Act of 2023,
Mm-hmm.
and because that was signed into law
Right.
in 2023, they would have to go through quite a bit to revoke and pull that back out. So while they could certainly
Yeah.
create difficulties,
Right.
it's really already going forward. There isn't a lot that they can do. And because Congress is made up of members of both parties
Right.
and things like that, they would, I think, encounter quite a bit of resistance from the parties that are interested, because this is a bipartisan act. This is a bipartisan
Right.
bill, and it's supported by both sides of the aisle. So it would be difficult.
But didn't they do the same thing with Roe versus Wade?
Well, that was more of a Supreme Court decision than a presidential decision, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
what happens there is, again, because this is a bill,
Mm-hmm.
they would have to go through quite a bit to accomplish that.
But
I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but it could.
let's just say they decided to take it to the Supreme Court. Would they not have to put the congressional hearings on hold until the Supreme Court made a ruling?
That I'm not sure about. I really don't know.
Oh, that makes two of us. That's why I thought I was asking you.
Yes, I know. I'm not sure because what we're talking about is something that's happening on November 13th.
Right.
So I don't know, would they have time to do that, to make whatever things in place before
Mm-hmm.
those congressional hearings are set to take place? I mean, maybe that's why they've done it so close to the election.
maybe.
I don't know.
Karen, please stand by. You and I have to take our first break for tonight. And Nation, if you'd like to find out more about my guest, Karin Wilkinson. I nearly didn't put the son on there. Karin Wilkinson. Her website is www.karinwilkinsonauthor.com. And Karen and I will be back on the other side of this short break. Don't go away. And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and I wasn't going to share something with you. As you noticed, towards the end of the last segment, I kind of stopped and I was having a little bit of problem. That's because I swallowed a damn cough drop.
Oh
Craig,
no,
yeah, it was kind of like, okay,
I'm so sorry.
yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry for that, and that's something Craig said I should never do, and I will listen to from now on, my mighty guru. Karin Wilkinson is my special guest. Her website is KarinWilkinsonAuthor.com, and this is a quote from Karin. For as early as I can remember, I have been abducted by non-human alien entities, possibly hundreds of times. I have seen many UAPs, UFOs, throughout my lifetime and suffered emotional and physical ailments due to the things that they did to me. That sounds like something straight out of a horror movie.
It does, and it felt like something
My
straight
God.
out of a horror movie as well. It was very traumatic what I went through.
Why do you think they selected you?
I think for a couple of reasons. One, I think because of the DNA aspect of it. I do believe that abductions like this run in families. When they
Hmm.
find these entities, find a DNA line that they can work with, they continue working within that familial line. And another reason is permissions. It can be permissions given through um, certain societies. If, or in almost anyone's case, I believe that goes back to the Greada Treaty, where permissions were given for humans and animals to be used experimentally.
By who?
Well, as far as we know, by the president at the time, but, it was Eisenhower at the time, but, we don't have enough details released on what happened during that time
Hmm.
as far as gave the actual who that together, the Greada
Wow.
Treaty. But a president can provide permission for, say, a country. And that's the level of permissions that you need when you're talking about things in this type of a realm. And I know my friend Vicki Joy Anderson, whom you've spoken with, she is really the expert when it comes to things like covenants and threshold
Hmm.
covenants and permissions. And I tell people, think of it like vampire lore. When a vampire wants to cross the threshold, it requires permissions. This is just a demonic thing that requires a permission to enter your space, and it's a very similar process.
So, do you think that there's an evil side to this entire alien abduction scenario that was given with the full knowledge of the government?
I absolutely do believe that there's an evil side
Hmm.
to this because when you're looking at abducting a 5-year-old child,
Oh,
or cattle mutilation and the level of terror that not just I went through, but there were other people there too and other children that I saw, and we were terrified. And, when you look at that, I can't find a way to put that into a paradigm where that is benevolent behavior.
yeah.
You look at cattle mutilations, look at the missing pregnancies, the damages that are
Hmm.
done to people, the physical and psychological damage. It's just not benevolent.
You're the author of a great book called Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. Can you let our listeners who didn't hear you the last time you were on the show, can you give them a description of what your book is all about and what your inspiration for letting everybody know about this was?
Sure. The book is about my lifelong account of the things that happened to me throughout my lifetime of being taken against my will by non
Hmm.
human alien entities. When you say I was abducted by aliens or UFOs, people tend to look at you as if you're crazy. But, I'm a normal person. I am not crazy. And I have spoken with so many other people who have been through these same things that I have been through, similar things, and we're just normal people
Hmm.
trying to figure out how to live a life while dealing with these horrific encounters. Um, and so that the inspiration for writing the book, honestly, was I wanted to be able to start these conversations with people and make it okay to talk about this. And and that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're having conversations, which is amazing to me. And because there's such a stigma behind it.
I would imagine that you're also helping a lot of people come out of the closet and talking about their own experience. And this is something that they don't have to keep inside and feel shamed about. That there's nothing wrong with what happened to them except it's wrong. It really happened, and what happened was wrong.
Oh, yes, exactly. And thank you for saying that. Starting these, being able to have these conversations, I never thought I would be able to share this information. And I certainly never
Hmm.
thought I'd be writing a book about it or speaking with someone like you about this on, a radio program and then sharing with others.
Right.
But once I did, it was such a relief. And then to hear that relief in others' voices when we talk and when we meet, meeting people at conferences is just the greatest joy because we'll go into a private room and we'll just sit and we'll chat. And I don't share what's happened to them. That's their story
Hmm.
and their life to tell. But just to share it gives people relief and to tell them it's okay. I believe you and
Yeah.
you can heal from this. That's the best part of doing this for me.
If I had a dime for every time over the years I've been doing this show, if somebody came up to me and said, "Hi, Rob, blah 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 blah," you're not going to believe me, but that's when I start believing.
Yes, exactly. I think it's those of us who hold back
Hmm.
because the truth is sometimes much stranger than fiction, as the quote goes.
Yeah.
And that is true. And some of that I think is just I think the powers that be, whoever tries to control the narratives at different times, set that in motion to keep people from sharing things like this. When you set a narrative where, oh, everyone who talks about these things is crazy, then people won't talk about them.
Exactly. Now, when disclosure comes, and I
Mhm.
hope it's very soon for a lot of people, how does what responsibility is the government going to take? Because people like you and thousands of others have had these experiences, and because of the negligence or the inability of the government to say, "Well, you're right," they up to now they've bared no responsibility. But as soon as they say, "Yes, we knew about it,"
Mhm.
God, you've had stress, you've had all these other issues because of the abduction and because of the government's inability to be truthful. Don't they owe you and the other people who have had encounters and have gone to taken the proper channels and have had to have medical care? It's affected your lifetime. Shouldn't they take some responsibility?
Well, it would be nice if someone could take responsibility, but I just don't see that happening. There will always be someone else to blame. There will always be somewhere to pass the buck. It would be really nice if there were opportunities for those of us who've been through this to have psychological care
Sure.
or physical care. When they released their report in um, 2022, a report was released by the government called Physical and Psychological Effects
Hmm.
of Acute and Subacute Field Effects on Human Biological Tissues. It's a very long report name and sounds confusing, but basically it was a report that just outlined a very long list of problems that people who've been exposed to these UAPs
Hmm.
and these entities have experienced. So they've already shown that they understand what is going on. But I wonder if that will ever get full disclosure, just because that would require a certain level of um,
Yeah.
responsibility, and I don't see that happening.
With the amount of times that you've been abducted and had interaction with the ETs, what kind of help could you get? Who did you go to?
I didn't get help, and I had no one to go to,
Oh,
and that was the hard part. When I was about 6 years old, I this is when I finally realized because they were telling me and threatening me and telling me I not to talk, not to tell anyone, and I just kind of I had my first breakdown. And I remember being about 6 years old, they found me
hmm.
huddled in the corner of a bathroom stall at school, just holding my knees and rocking back
Oh,
and
for
forth, and I wouldn't
God's
come
sake.
out. And they had to call my mom to come get me, and she talked me out of there. And I just kept saying, I want them to stop taking me. I want them to stop touching me. I want them to stop bothering me. Talking about them being, and they're like, who? Who are you talking
Right.
about? The little ones, the little ones. well, I didn't have vocabulary. Even if I wanted to tell someone, what would I call
Mm-hmm.
them? This is back in the 60s and 70s, and I didn't have access to the kind of information we have today. I didn't know who and what they were even. So at that point, I realized there was no one to help me, and I think I kind of split at that point and created a part of me that lived day to day and a part of me that lived the really tough, difficult, ugly stuff. And I separated those two. And I kept it that way for a very, very long time.
How did your encounters affect your childhood? It must have been, if you'll excuse the expression, hell for you.
There were parts of it that were absolutely horrifying. And because I was able to create this
Mm-hmm.
dissociation between those events and other events, there were times I hid a lot. I got very adept at finding places to hide at night, thinking that might help. I couldn't look out a window at night. I couldn't sleep on the side of a bed or the side of the room by a window. Um, I was terrified at nighttime. I always slept with the covers over my head, my eyes tightly closed. Just, I so many things that it affected for my whole life, not just that time of my life. But it was terrifying. And little children who go through traumatic experiences tend to find ways to block them out and deal with them.
Right.
The human mind and heart are very complex. And I think God just gave me that ability to really put it put a separation between that and some of the day-to-day things so that I could live a more normal life.
We're glad you're here with us tonight and sharing this experience with. I'm sure there are people out there right now saying, you know what? That happened to me. And if Karin is telling about her experiences, I can share mine with someone, and maybe they'll contact you, Sharon. Maybe Karin. Maybe they'll contact Ellie Marzulli. Maybe they'll contact us. But you're making a difference, and it's just wonderful. So thank you for what you're doing. And X Zone Nation will be back with Karin on the other side of this break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in beautiful St. Catharines, Ontario, Niagara. Don't go away. And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. My guest this hour is Karin Anderson, and her website is Karin Wilkinson. See, I did it again. KarinWilkinsonAuthor.com. I know, write Karin's name 50 times on the blackboard. Karin Wilkinson, Karin Wilkinson. I'm sorry about that, Karin.
It's a
Your story is, it's to the outsider fiction, like sci-fi, and yet people who know you and the inside stories about alien abductions, alien sightings, close encounters, they know it's so true, and it must be very frustrating for you, who's had all these experiences, to put up with the people who have no idea what they're talking about just call it bullcrap.
You know, it can be frustrating, but at the same time, I tend to kind of zone out those people, those comments, and really
Hmm.
focus on the other people who come forward, the people who email me and say, I just read your book and I read my life story.
Wow.
I get more comments than you would believe like that. And I hear from people all over the world uh, who've read this or who've listened and who just feel a sense of community and feel like they're not alone anymore. And so it's okay. I understand, and I went into this understanding that there would be
Hmm.
pushback, there would be people who don't believe, and I can't make anyone believe what they don't want to believe.
That's true.
So I'm just going to reach out to people who have had experiences or who do want to learn more or who do want to believe and share what I know. And I'm not the definitive source. I'm just one person
Hmm.
with one set of experiences. There are a lot of amazing people out there with amazing information to offer on the subject.
Earlier, you said that you had, I believe you were saying that you had met with other people who were abducted.
Yes. Yes,
Did
I
you
have.
feel any connection with them other than the fact that there was the abduction scenario? Did you feel as if you knew these people, that you had shared an experience together of some sort?
I haven't met anyone that I felt like I was there with or that
Hmm.
I've shared that type of that we went through it together. But I do definitely feel a connection of just a bond where we have the same fears, we've gone through the same, types of difficulties in our lives and had a lot of the similar effects on ourselves, whether they be psychological or physical. So, those are really amazing connections to have with people.
Hmm.
And I've, met people that will be lifelong friends just from meeting and be able to talk about the things we have in common.
You stated in your book that non human alien entities are intervening with humans in an attempt to corrupt the human bloodline, and that
Yes.
this is the dark agenda of Satan and his cohorts.
Yes.
Is it possible then, if this is what you believe, and I have no reason to doubt you at all, that we can look back in time and make a biblical connection with everything that we're talking about?
Oh, I believe so. And in my opinion, yes. I've had people say to me, how do you know, how can you reconcile your Christian faith with then the things that have happened to you and what you're talking about? And I respond that this is in the Christian Bible from Genesis to Revelation.
Hmm.
There are so many references to these entities, to
There sure are.
the, you know, so there's quite a bit in there.
Yeah,
And for anyone who's interested, I do reference some of it in the book, and then there are a lot of other amazing people out there who are sharing the
yeah.
similar information.
One of the biggest references that I believe are the Nephilim.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely. Genesis 6
yeah.
lays that out, where it talks about how the sons of God, the B'nai Elohim, which
Hmm.
are the what people call angels, which are
Right.
just a created order of beings, like humans are. They're just a different kind. Fell, they disobeyed God and they saw that the women of earth that they were attracted to them, and so they took wives, plural, of all that they chose. And so they had that bond and they bore to them children, which became the Nephilim, the Gibborim, the mighty men of old. Some referred to them as giants, and there were different kinds. They weren't all giants. There are different kinds that are referred to, and especially in the extra canonical books like the Book of Enoch, which more and more people are now becoming familiar
Hmm.
with.
Um, yeah, the Bible is a very hard book to focus on because I was kicked out of the Anglican Church at the age of 11 because I asked too many questions. One of the
Uh,
biggest questions I asked was, I'll never forget, it was Saturday. We used to go to Bible study on Saturday and then church
mhm,
on Sunday. It was Reverend Randall, and he was, if you took a, have you ever watched A Christmas Carol with,
mhm.
what's his
Yes.
name? Oh gosh, I forget the guy's name. Anyway, he, you know how he looked like old and mean during the start of that's what Reverend Randall looked like,
Oh, dear.
and I was there, and it was towards the end of the class, and he says, "Young Robert, what's on your mind?" I said, "Well, something doesn't make sense to me, Reverend Randall. He says, what's it this time? I said, well, Adam and Eve created, right? He says, right. They had two children, Cain and Abel, right? Right. One brother killed the other brother, right? Right. God put the mark of him on his forehead so that he would not, so others he met would know that he was protected, right? Right. And then he crossed the desert, crossed the mountains to a village where he laid with his wife. Where the hell did they come from?
And yeah, that's a good question. There are a lot of questions asked
Yes.
in churches that pastors or reverends or whomever the
Yeah.
leaders are don't choose to answer, either because A, they don't know, or B, it kind of messes up their
Yeah.
very very gently
Yeah.
and easily controlled narrative. So, those, and I don't know if you're asking me to answer what my thoughts are on that question, or just how difficult it is to ask questions in some churches,
I
because it is
it
quite
was
difficult.
it was the difficulty of the question, and if you can't get answers from the people who are supposed to know the answers,
Right.
where do people go to get
Right.
the answers?
Fine.
And then to really tick them off, I said, well, how come Greek mythology is older than Christianity, and it seems that Christianity stole some of their thunder?
Well, and those are all really good questions. And I think if you look at Greek
Yeah,
mythology, what it does is it shows you how the Bible lines up to it. And that
exactly.
when you look at Christianity, what we're looking at are, you know, from the first five books of the Bible, the Pentateuch, something that's ancient,
Yeah,
that's so old, but that had to be rewritten by Noah after the flood when everything was destroyed. But we don't know exactly how long ago God put Adam and Eve in the garden.
right.
We don't know exactly how long ago the flood. So there's so many questions that pastors don't answer or don't want to know, or that aren't even taught in seminary, like the Genesis 6 narrative and Genesis 3:15, where he says in the garden, I will put enmity between your seed and the seed of the woman. Well, who's he talking to? He's
Hmm.
talking to Satan, and he's talking about the seed of man.
Yeah.
And he's talking about, that ongoing battle that goes on today. And those things aren't taught in churches.
No.
And then people don't understand, what are aliens? What are these things? Where are they coming from? Well, they're the angels that rebelled.
Yeah.
And there are numerous, but that's not taught. And if it was taught, if I had been taught this, Rob, when I was 18 and I first found my way to,
Hmm.
a church, a faith-filled church, I would have been able to stop this back then.
Yeah.
But the churches I went to didn't teach me the whole Bible, and I didn't know what to do.
I don't think there is any church out there that does teach the whole Bible, because
Oh,
they don't want you or any other parishioners, any of the believers, to actually see who's behind that curtain, because then
I
it
think
spoils it all.
I yeah, and I've come across some churches actually that I find are amazing. They do. There's one here in Lubbock. There was
Hmm.
one in West Palm Beach. There's one in Pensacola, Florida, and I don't have all the names of the churches, but I would love to share all those, because there are some pastors who are trying really hard to share those truths
Hmm.
out there. But they don't get a lot of attention, because what they're doing is not the prescribed narrative. It's not the mainstream. It doesn't put people's seats in the people in pews.
Yeah.
It drives a lot of people away because they don't want to hear the strange things. They
The
don't want to hear the more esoteric parts of it.
the church today is a business. That's
Yeah.
all it is. And the way I look at it is, you've got the Pope. He's the chairman, CEO. Then you've got all the bishops. The cardinals. They're the board of directors. And then you have all the little parishioners who take 10% of whatever they make, put in that collection pot. They're the shareholders.
Right. I think there are some churches that
Yeah.
are just unfortunately not really there to teach the truth. And even the Bible talks about,
Yeah.
those churches and those places. And my friend Mondo Gonzalez, I was listening to a post he put on social media today. He made a very good point. Be very careful where you get your information, because you might think it's coming from a good source,
Yeah.
but it might lead you astray. And so, I just pray for discernment every day, and pray that I find the right places to, people to listen to, and find the right things to read and the right sources to get my information. And I think for a lot of people, they just unfortunately don't get enough of the good and the right information. And it turns people off from religion, and it sends people away from churches and away from from God.
Yeah.
Whereas organized religion, a lot of them don't have anything to do with true connection to salvation, to God, and that's unfortunate.
Is it possible that when we read the Bible, we are actually reading the first contacts of extraterrestrials here on this planet? And because back then no one knew about the heavens, no one knew about the possibility of life in other planets, nobody knew about DNA, nobody knew about science, chemistry, biology, nothing. That what they did was they wrote based on their best ability and the knowledge that they knew what they were seeing. And if that's the case, how would the words of the Bible be written today,
Yeah,
knowing everything we know? How would the
that's
Bible be written, and how different would it be? Would
oh,
Mary have had artificial insemination, for example? Question.
those are really interesting questions.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Bible is not written through Western eyes.
No.
It's not written through a language that we understand. I mean, extraterrestrial simply means not of this earth, not
Yeah.
born on this earth, not, someone who walks the earth, right? So, yeah, when you look at that, any angelic being is going to
Hmm.
be an extraterrestrial. And then you look at chariots of
Yep.
fire. Well, they had chariots. And
That's
so,
right.
they're probably talking about UFOs. And then you go back to old artwork and old ancient cave paintings even and things like that. And you'll see examples of flying spaceships
Yeah.
and astronauts and these things that have been there just through, eons of time. So it is definitely not written in a Western vernacular, and we have to take that into account when we read it and
Karen,
start
I
looking at it.
I hate to do this. I've got to take my final break. Please stand by. Exonation. Karin Wilkinson is our special guest. Her website is KarinWilkinsonAuthor.com. And we'll both be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone. And don't forget, this isn't the last hour. This is the first hour. After we say goodbye to Karen, we have yet another hour to share with you, the members of the X Zone. So don't go away.
You could read my mind, love. What a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old time movie about a ghost from a wishing well. In a castle dark or a fortress strong with chains upon my feet. You know that ghost is me. And I will never be set free as long as I'm a ghost you can't see. If I could read your
And welcome back, everyone. That's Gordon Lightfoot, If You Could Read My Mind. And we also had from Canada, Glass Tiger, Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone. Why I'm saying that is because a program director at Classic 1220, CFAJ, his name is Peter Bordley, he sticks to the rules and regulations really tight. And according to CanCon, we have to have one Canadian bumper every hour. So there you go, Peter. Double your pleasure, double your fun. I just gave you 2 Canadian bumpers. Oh, don't worry. I'll keep putting them in because you're a man who does his job and I consider you a good friend. Karin Wilkinson is our guest. KarinWilkinsonAuthor.com. The name of her book is Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. Now, when we look at the entire alien abduction scenario, it in itself is frightening, even to those people who have not had the experience. You have had hundreds of experiences, and there are those people that we've talked to who claim to have gone, when they've been abducted, to the craft, and they were pregnant. When they come back, there's no fetus. How common is this?
Yeah, that's actually more common than you would think. This happened to me. I would find out that I was pregnant the first time it happened. I was married, so it wasn't unusual for
Mm-hmm.
me to have been pregnant. And I hadn't had any children at that point of my own. And so I went to the doctor, had everything confirmed, did blood
Yeah.
tests, got my prescription for my vitamins. This is, a while back, things were different. And heard heartbeat, all that kind of thing. And around the third month, around the end of the first trimester, I woke up in the middle of the night and I didn't feel good. I had abdominal pain, but I was spotting, but nothing had come out of me. I hadn't lost the baby at home or anything, but went to the emergency room because I felt, terrible.
Sure.
And they couldn't find a heartbeat. So they did an ultrasound and they couldn't find a fetus. And so they did what's called a D&C, which is not something you do to a young woman normally, but when it's something like this has happened, they have to make sure there's nothing there that could cause problems left inside your uterus. They did a D&C, which is where they go clean out your uterus,
Mm-hmm.
and they came back after that and told me, "Ma'am, are you sure you were pregnant?" And I'm standing there, not lying there. My husband's there. And we're like, "Yes, absolutely. You can call my doctor. They can confirm everything. There was a heartbeat, blah, blah. Are you sure you didn't lose the baby at home?" "No, I'm sure. I would have known that." And they're like, "Well, because there was no fetal tissue in your uterus. Your uterus was clean." And so at that point, they couldn't tell me what happened to my baby. And it was just heart-wrenching and heartbreaking to lose a child and have no answers
Oh my God.
and wonder what happened.
Yeah.
When with a miscarriage, sometimes you can at least know what happened and why. And
Mm-hmm.
I had no answers. And this happened to me multiple times. And I did not know until, these last couple of years that happened to other women frequently. And many, many women have reached out to me with that same traumatic story. And, we've been able to share that grief together and mourn together, because you don't get to, trying to mourn the loss of a baby that you don't even know what happened to it was very, very difficult. And then in the report I mentioned to you earlier that was released in 2022 by the
Mm-hmm.
government about the effects, the acute and subacute effects, the very long name, one of the things that they confirmed was that one of the effects was these missing pregnancies and lost pregnancies. And so to have that confirmation, and these other women too, and that I've spoken with and met with and messaged with, it's given me some closure and some finality to it, and at least a sense of not being alone, and it's helped me to grieve and to get through that. But that's such a difficult thing to go through for those of us who've been through it, and then you don't want to talk about it because people will be like, "Well, what do you mean your baby's missing?" it, there just aren't good answers for it.
This has happened to multiple people. The child is
Many.
taken without your permission.
Yes.
You come back. You're not pregnant anymore.
No.
Have you gone to the authorities and said, "Hey, listen, this is what happened. Here's the medical proof"?
Yeah. No, because the doctors are saying to me, "Well, we can't explain it, but it's just gone." And what am I going to do? Go to the authorities and say, "I don't have any proof for you, but this is what happened"?
Well, wouldn't the proof
What are they
be
going to
that?
do?
Wouldn't
I mean,
that?
what would they do?
Wouldn't that be? Wouldn't the proof be that you went to a doctor or a medical center and they, in your medical history, wrote that you were pregnant, giving all the tests that were done and the dates and what the ultrasounds have found in the past? You go, you come back, you go to the hospital because you feel something's not right. You as a mother know if you're pregnant or not.
Oh, definitely.
And
Absolutely.
and the doctors and the nurses who check you, they give you a D&C and they say you are never pregnant.
Well, they didn't say I was never pregnant. What they said was there was no fetal tissue in my uterus. I was pregnant. I had blood tests and things to prove it, but it was gone. I had lost that baby, but they didn't know
Unreal.
where. They're like, "Well, you must have lost it at home and not realized it." So they put the onus of responsibility back on me for not realizing that I had expelled, that baby, that I
That
had miscarried that baby at home and not realized it.
that is so
Well,
ludicrous.
anyone will tell you that's crazy,
Yeah.
right? And if I can't tell my best friend or anyone about these things that have happened to me for fear of them thinking I'm crazy, how am I going to go to a police and
Yeah.
tell them
Well,
these
not only
things?
that,
I mean,
but what about the psychological aspect for you having to suppress this information that your baby was stolen away from you, and you can't
Right.
tell anybody about it because they're not going to believe you.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. It's horrifying. And again, it's one of those things that you just suppress it. You suppress it as far down and as far away as you can, and then go and have a pregnancy, a normal baby, and you live in that, and you love on that baby with all of your heart, which I love my children. I have biological children, I have
Mhm.
adopted children, and I love them with everything I have, and I am so grateful for them. And I can't live in the loss. I have to live in the life that I've been blessed with, and that's what I do, and that's what so many of us do.
God bless you. That's all I can say is God bless you.
Oh, thank you, Robin.
I understand that you also had a near-death experience.
I did. And it was such an amazing experience to have. I was going in for surgery,
Hmm.
and the near that death experience itself was kind of strange how it happened, and I think that's a conversation for another show because I know we'll run out of time. But when I died on that operating table by myself, all alone, no one around me, I just heard a voice in my head after I said, "God, please help me," in my head, that said, "It's okay, you can let go now." And I was out of my physical body, but I was still me. I still have my personality.
Hmm.
I didn't have a gender, I didn't have a body, but I was still me. And I felt the most incredible love and peace and joy that it's unexplainable. We don't have anything like it. It was the most incredible experience of my lifetime. And I'm so grateful for that because it showed me that God really is there, and we really do go on from here. And this is just a body that we're in for now, but we go on to something much more beautiful and amazing.
If God has the ability to give life, to take
Hmm.
life, why does he permit the evil to exist in this world where these ETs could come at night like a thief in the dark, snatch
Yeah,
you or anyone else, bring them to a place where they take your child from your womb? Why is
right.
this permitted?
That's a great question, and I hear that a lot, and I say, first of all, darkness is the absence of light, and
Hmm.
evil is the absence of good. And we live in a fallen world, and that started with the Garden of Eden. It
Yeah.
started with Adam and Eve, and it gives us the option, the opportunity to have free will, to choose what we want to do with our lives. Do we want to believe in God? Do we want to believe that Jesus is our Lord and Savior? Do we want to accept that? We have the free will to make those choices, and I'm not going to tell anyone how to live their life that they have to live their life the way I do, but I do believe in these things. And that free will, even though there's evil in this world, that's a part of that free will. And we have the free will to do those things.
A lot of people have challenged me by saying, Rob, do you believe in, let's say, Bigfoot? I'll
Hmm.
say, no, I haven't seen one. Oh, but you're a Christian and you believe in God. How come you
Hmm.
believe in God and not in a Bigfoot?
Hmm.
Well, for one thing, I know in my heart of hearts there is a God.
Yeah.
And well, what's your proof, Rob? Well, let me tell you something. If you want to see any proof that there is truly a God, all you need to do is go to any hospital and see the
Mm,
people that are working there. Then you go to the delivery area and you look into the room that has all the little babies. And when you see a baby smile,
hmm.
don't tell me
Yeah.
there's no God. Or when you
Right.
see people going out of their way to be helpful. Look what's happening in the world today, the wars, and how many people are going to help the people who are in so much need and who need humanity, and they're there.
Right.
The God is there. All you have to do is look for him. But I don't see any Bigfoot in there.
No, and I think that whatever creatures and things that people are seeing out there that aren't human, again, a lot of those I think can be we're going back to Nephilim
Yep.
territory, right? And we're going, but yeah, God is in everything because He's the creator of everything. And you look at how a flower blooms or the
Oh,
intricacies of
yes.
anything in this world, and
Yeah.
detail. And you realize we have a divine creator who loves us, who loves us enough to give us the opportunity to find our way and to learn how to love him and learn how to love others. And that's the greatest gift of all.
Karen, the time has come when I must say so long to you, my friend, and we'll have you back in the future. Thank you for all you do. I appreciate having you on the show. I appreciate your time. And Exo Nation, if you would like to contact Karin Wilkinson, her website is KarinWilkinsonAuthor.com. Karen, take care of yourself, my friend.
Thank you, Rob. You too. It is always such a pleasure to be with you, and I look forward to next time. God bless you.
God bless you too. And Exo Nation, that's it with our guest this hour. Once again, the name of Karen's book is Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. One more time. Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. What a story. Great lady. We'll be back on the other side of this break as hour number 2 of the X-Zone starts right now.
In a castle dark or a fortress strong with chains upon my feet, you know that ghost is me.